somebody decides to loot a Gucci or a Macy's or a Nike, because that makes sure that that person eats. That makes sure that that person has clothes. That's reparations. These businesses have insurance. They're going to get their money back.
I remember hearing apologists for the riots and looting throughout the United States in 2020 claim that these actions have no negative impact on businesses and the community at large because insurance covers the destruction. Businesses can simply rebuild and the economy will go back to what it was before. People who watch this channel are familiar with Frederick Bastiat, who wrote a famous parable published in 1850 that can shed light on why this belief makes no sense. Suppose a child breaks a shopkeeper's window. The shopkeeper must now pay a glazier to replace the window. An observer in Bastiat's parable argues that replacing the window had positive economic outcomes. The glazier increased his or her income, and the glazier then uses that money to purchase goods and services from someone else. Society as a whole benefits from the increased economic activity. Bastiat states that it is not seen that as our shopkeeper has spent 6 francs upon one thing, he cannot spend them upon another. It is not seen that if he had not had a window to replace, he would perhaps have replaced his old shoes or added another book to his library. In short, he would have employed his 6 francs in some way which this accident has prevented. In the case of the 2020 riots and looting, money, resources, and labor that could have been spent on building new homes, businesses, and goods and services are instead dedicated to fixing what was destroyed, resulting in economic regression for the community overall. Even though destroyed and looted businesses will be compensated by insurance companies, their insurance premiums will likely rise after such destruction, and this will encourage marginal producers to leave and discourage new businesses from opening because they can no longer afford to do business there. Those who justify riots and looting as legitimate and productive forms of protest may not be considering the immediate and long-term impacts of these actions, especially on the poorest members of an affected community. One example of the devastating effects of riots comes from Detroit in the 1960s. Thomas Sowell writes that although Black Americans living in Detroit had lower poverty rates, lower unemployment rates, and higher homeownership rates than Black Americans overall, it was here that the riots were most intense. Sowell argues that these riots turned an economically successful Detroit into an economic disaster area for many years, as businesses became reluctant to locate there, reducing access to both jobs and places to shop, and both Black and white middle-class people left for the suburbs. Activists cannot complain about underinvestment in low-income communities and then advocate for actions that discourage investment in the first place.